to take the stage to talk My Hero Academia! So please welcome back to the stage your moderator, London Jackson!
Where is he?
Hey everyone, wow. Hey everyone, I am London Jackson and I will be your moderator. I am assuming you're all here from My Hero Academia, yes? So we have awesome panelists today. I'm so happy they're here. I'm going to announce them. Sorry, there's no name tags, but it's fine. You all know them. It's fine. So we will have up here Justin Reiner. Hey! We have J. Michael Tatum. We have Justin Cook. And we have Kellen Goff. Well, thank you guys for being up here today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, yes.
So many. How did you all get in my room?
So, first off, I feel like the show has become somewhat of an overnight sensation. The manga sells like crazy, and unlike other animes that have been around, some for decades, this is just blown up. Why do you guys personally think, from working on the show, that this particular anime has blown up in the way, and how is it different, maybe, than the other shows out there, in your opinion?
Oh, so we're starting with easy questions.
Wow. Yes, we're just rolling. Yeah.
And how many pages did you want that, teacher? This show is so relatable. The characters in it are human. These are human stories. We're not just kind of being rushed into like this world where everybody is so, I don't know, just so fictionalized that it feels cartoony. This really feels like humans. They're, yeah, right? I mean, aren't they? I think the reason why it is everybody dresses up and like picks these favorites is that they really kind of see a piece of themselves inside of them. Yeah. Hopefully we're bringing that to the soundtrack.
Yeah.
I think, to piggyback on that, it's a show about these very relatable characters who are all kind of coming into their power, learning who they are, and where they kind of fit in the dynamic, and who can't relate to that. I mean, I do certainly. And it's just great to see, everyone kind of find their niche. It's wonderful.
And it's nice to see like a whole world with superpowers, because then anybody can be a hero. And that's inspiring to real life, right?
Definitely.
Even Justin. Yeah, even Justin.
Wow.
We picked you last in dodgeball.
I can't believe
What? I'm overhaul. Give me a break.
Well, I guess speaking of the hero aspect, who are the personal heroes or inspirations in your life? And whether you're a hero or villain, did that inspire your role in somehow to make each of your characters unique in your own way, your own personal inspirations?
So deep. How dare you make me feel something?
You're going to make me smear my eyeshadow. Well, I guess we'll start from this end. My hero is and always has been my dad, because I live with autism. I'm high functioning, and he has the same thing. And he sort of, thank you. And he, Autismo brothers. And he sort of, he taught me that, just because I'm different doesn't mean that I can't function in the society and excel.
and he inspired me every day to keep going with school, and he was there 100% of the way for me with voice acting. He was supportive all the way, and to this day we still, you know, call each other every day. I tell him what I did. He reassures me that I didn't do anything wrong, and I do the same for him. And we talk about where we traveled that day, and in that way, he didn't really inspire Overhaul, because Overhaul is very the opposite in that he's a brutal murderer. But
But he's driven.
yeah, he is driven. This is our running gag that we're not allowed to say anything about this new character, but we love that he has a drive and he has this goal and he just does it by any means necessary. And we like his character design. Yeah, but yeah, long story short, my dad.
Nice.
Oh, well, let's see. Like, you know, I'm a voice actor, and so there's voice actors that I really look up to. One of them in particular is Scatman Carruthers. If you don't know him, you gotta look him up. Some of the old classics, that's kind of where my heart lives, and so absolutely Optimus. So yeah, anything I can do to kind of bring that voice into play, but that's what I look up to. And it just, you know, you gotta, and I think that's the beautiful thing. Every single one of you, I hope you got somebody that you can look up to, that you can kind of follow in your own dreams, and maybe put it into watching how some of these other folks have accomplished their dreams. Maybe somehow that could work for you guys. Love you.
I've had a lot of heroes in my life, but I always feel the need to give a shout out to the women in my life. I've been very fortunate to know some very, very strong women, from my mother, my grandmother, my sister-in-law, some of my best friends, and man, if everything I know about strength has come from the women in my life, so those are my heroes.
Awesome.
Gosh, so much the same. Yeah, I was raised mostly by women. I was inspired by their fortitude and their unyielding strength. So that's always been a big driving force for me. Also, just like entertainers that have meant a lot to me growing up. Voice actors, Broadway actors, everything like that. Anyone who's getting together to collaborate and tell stories is, I think, really powerful, especially in this day and age.
I think it might also be fair to say that there's a whole room full of heroes here to be inspired by.
I agree.
I agree with that as well. I'm just curious, did you guys, I don't know, almost research your characters before you went into voicing them? Did you read the manga? Did you look at the sub? Like, did you prepare? You just went in with the writing and the character just popped out? So just curious.
I'll jump in here. My process was, hey, Tatum, there's a character in here with glasses. Congratulations. Go home, everyone. This is my guy. But it was really funny. I didn't really know much about the show at all, and I usually don't do a lot of research because I try to be just very improvisorial with my acting style. I like to not, the less I know, the better, the more real my reactions tend to be in the booth. So, man, every time I go into a session, Colleen is just a phenomenal director.
Shout out to Colleen.
Shout out to Colleen Finkelbeard. Is just one of the best in the business. Please don't tell her I said that. But she was amazing, and we would laugh together because she would laugh at something I did, and we're watching the screen, we're watching the animation, and I'm like, what's so funny? She's like, I've seen you do that exact thing. The thing he's doing, I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't do that. There's nothing like me, Colleen. Now, come on, we've got a timetable here. We have to know. And I think Colleen put it best when she said, like, Tenya is you in an airport, Tatum. It's very true. I feel like my research was just coming to the realization that I think the creators followed me around with a sketchbook for about an hour, and were like, this is our guy. It's almost embarrassing. I'm like, that's who I am.
Yeah, this is an opportunity to jump in with the compliments to Colleen, but for myself, no, there's not a lot of research that's involved. The research is allowing myself to kind of give this character and its interpretation entirely over to Colleen. So I'm clay in her hands at the beginning of every session, and by the end of it, whatever we've created, I just trust her. She really has owned the show and the casting of it. I think she's really looked for the actors that that may even accidentally emulate these characters in real life. But I do think a lot of us actually share some things in common with our characters.
For example, Rico Fajardo is just Mirio. Verbatim. There's no difference except for the hair. Maybe the black eyes.
Right.
Yeah. For me, I did not research Overhaul at first, but then seeing how complex of a character he was, I thought, if this guy encounters something that normal people wouldn't bat an eye to, but he might think is one way or another, I should probably know about that to give that the performance, that he experienced that. So I read all of it, but confessions. That said, there are still things that we're recording with Colleen that surprised me. It wasn't the way I would have gone, but it actually works better. So Colleen is excellent in her instincts, and I fully trust her too. I just, I like to collaborate with her in the lines. So
I think many people would tell you that great actors don't research the manga or the anime, which means that I am not a great actor.
Sorry, Deku, what was that? What was that?
You
want to throw down?
No. I'm at camp with you, bud. I couldn't stop myself, truly. When we heard about auditions and the show was coming out, I watched maybe an episode or two of the anime. I really identified it with something special. They were telling a very unique kind of story with very profound characters. So then I started reading the manga, and I said, all right, just a few chapters, just to get a feel for it. 100 chapters later, where everything has happened. I can't help myself. So
it's like candy, man.
Oh, so
that
good.
story's so good.
Well, focusing on each of your characters, could you tell us what you think is your character's best quality and their biggest character flaw?
God, it's like 2020. Who wants to start?
Deku has a flaw in that he is selfless to a fault. He will hurt himself and put himself in danger and harm's way to accomplish what he needs to do. And he will hurt himself, brutalize himself, depending on the circumstance. And he's really got to, I think, focus on taking care of himself. A little self-care goes a long way. But as for what redeems him and makes him so special, Deku is sort of a portrait of growing up with mental health and trying to figure out where you stand in the world and struggling with your self-worth and people telling you that you can't achieve your goals or dreams, you should set lower expectations, etc., etc. It goes on. And I feel like, everyone struggles with that in some capacity, especially creative folks out there have probably heard something like that growing up. And I think Deku is great because he gives you a character to root for that you can see yourself in and that you can see growth and change and progression and we're all sort of rooting for ourselves growing up, which is really cool.
I think Tenya he's a good guy. He just wants to do right and help people. He's a little extra sometimes. He's a bit much. But I think he's a wonderful person because he's so dependable. I mean, he will be there and he thinks nothing about helping someone else, even at cost to himself to some extent. But he's not quite the altruist that Deku is. But I think his flaw is having to learn to trust his friends to not always need him to make sure that they can do the right thing. He has a trust issue with people it's hard for him to believe that anyone else can do right without him there reminding him to do it. So he's a bit of a micromanager in that sense. And I think it just comes from a place of he's not sure about his own worth, so he wants to make sure that he's the one going, hey, you guys know you have to do this right? Okay, cool. Thank God I was here. Kind of thing. And so he's a good guy. It comes from a good place, but that's been his journey, is learning how to let his friends take their own journey.
Nice, okay.
Kirishima's redeeming qualities, he's got a heart of gold. This is hashtag, yeah, right, yeah. Hashtag Kirishima cares. But the trouble that Kirishima's got, and I think Deku shares a little of this too, but he sometimes can't see the forest for the trees kind of a thing into the details, to the extent that he'll forget even to turn the quirk off when he's trapped in the wall. So sometimes having a Bakugo there to help remind you, hey, there's the simple stuff. It's good to have a friend like that.
What's good about Kai?
Yeah, go on.
Well, Kai is, I was talking before, Kai is very driven, and he'll, I don't know what we're allowed to say. Colleen usually glares at me at this point. He's someone who's that focused on a goal and who's that self-assured. That's the kind of confidence I want, even though he goes about it in very questionable ways. Now his flaw is not, it's not what, I would say that his germophobia sort of hinders him a bit too much at times. Like, that's the reason he wears this, and that's the reason he always wears gloves too. He always has to have somebody fighting for him. He's afraid to get dirty.
Colleen just sent me a picture of her glaring at you.
Okay, I'll stop there. But yeah, that's what I'd say. And now, Colleen, I'm done.
Well, going off of your character, Kellen, I just yesterday I did a panel with Jim Starlin, who created the character Thanos.
With who?
With Jim Starlin.
Oh, Jim Starlin.
And he created Thanos, and so I have Thanos on the brain. And kind of looking at your character, I kind of have Thanos vibes. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree with that, but I feel like goals in the same way is. Do you see that? Is there a difference between the goals? Probably. But.
Without spoiling anything, I completely agree with that statement. I'd say that he thinks he's doing what's best for everybody.
I see.
And I will say no more, or else.
Right,
you'll get
I know
another
you
text.
can't. So obviously there are different themes within the show. It ranges from actually defining what it takes to be a hero, and even living in an almost dating society